Bring this meeting to order. Please rise for the pledge of the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Scare yourself a little bit.
Roll call.
All right. Counselor Kane?
Here.
Counselor Fellows?
Here.
Counselor Keller?
Here.
Counselor Larochelle?
Here.
Counselor Lunt?
Here.
Counselor Moore?
Here.
Counselor Robichaud?
Here.
The first item is executive session per MRSA Section 4056C, acquisition of real property or economic development.
Make a motion to go into executive session.
Second. That was a tie. Pick one.
I picked one.
Okay.
You'll see the minutes.
All in favor?
Order passed 7-0. It's 7:01.
We're going to be going to another room, so y'all can just chill out.
And I'll turn off the camera in the meantime.
Should be back by 9:30. So
We're live.
I'll entertain a motion to come out of executive session.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Order pass 7-0. It's 7:20 p.m.
We're back in session.
Yes.
Next item.
The first item is Good News and Recognition, Order 2023-84. This is a proclamation for National Building Safety Month. Would you like to have someone make a motion to adopt it prior to the reading?
Is there a motion to adopt?
I'll make a motion to adopt.
I'll second.
All in
All right.
favor?
We'll
We're going to
read
discuss
first.
it.
Yep.
Go ahead, sorry.
All right. So we'll read it, and then if there's discussion, we can do that and then vote. So, whereas our town is committed to recognizing that our growth and strength depends on the safety and essential role our homes, buildings, and infrastructure play, both in everyday life and when disasters strike. And whereas our confidence in the resilience of these buildings that make up our community is achieved through the devotion of vigilant guardians, building safety and fire prevention officials, architects, engineers, builders, tradespeople, design professionals, laborers, plumbers, and others in the construction industry who work year-round to ensure the safe construction of buildings. And whereas these guardians are dedicated members of the International Code Council, a nonprofit that brings together local, state, territorial, tribal, and federal officials who are experts in the built environment to create and implement the highest quality codes to protect us in the buildings where we live, learn, work, and play. And whereas these modern building codes include safeguards to protect the public from hazards such as hurricanes, snowstorms, tornadoes, wildland fires, floods, and earthquakes. And whereas Building Safety Month is sponsored by the International Code Council to remind the public about the critical role of our community's largely unknown protectors of public safety, our local code officials, who assure us of safe, sustainable, and affordable buildings that are essential to our prosperity. And whereas It Starts With You, the theme for Building Safety Month 2023, encourages us all to raise awareness about building safety on a personal, local, and global scale. And whereas each year, in observance of Building Safety Month, people all over the world are asked to consider the commitment to improve building safety, resilience, and economic investment at home and in the community, and to acknowledge the essential service provided to all of us by local and state building departments, fire prevention bureaus, and federal agencies in protecting lives and property. Now, therefore, we, the Town Council of Lisbon, Maine, do hereby proclaim the month of May 2023 as Building Safety Month. Accordingly, we encourage our citizens to join us as we participate in Building Safety Month activities. This will be a roll call vote when discussion is finished.
Any discussion? Ready for a vote?
Counselor Kane,
Yes.
Counselor Fellows,
Yes.
Counselor Keller,
Yes.
Counselor LaRochelle,
Yes.
Counselor Lunt,
Yes.
Counselor Moore,
Aye.
Counselor Robichaud.
Yes.
7 yeas, 0 nays. Order passed, vote 7-0. We'll put the proclamation in the hall for the public to see and post it on the website page.
Okay, good. Next item?
Next item, public hearings. The first public hearing is for dangerous building, the Union Street property.
I'll open that public hearing. Anybody want to speak to the Union Street property? There being none, I'll close that hearing.
Next item, approve fee changes for itinerant vendors and victualers permits. This is the line that helped us clean up the food truck rules.
I'll open that public hearing. No discussion. I'll close that hearing.
Next hearing, victualers licenses for Sweet Cakes Bake Shop, Anything Goes, and Smoke and Phil's Belly Bustin' Barbecue.
I'll open that public hearing. Anybody wish to speak to that? There being none, I'll close that hearing.
Next hearing, Chapter 42, Stormwater Management, Article 4, Post-Construction Stormwater Management, Section 42-121-2.
I'll open that public hearing. Anybody want to speak to that? There being none, I'll close that hearing.
Next item, Chapter 54, Article 3, Swimming Pools, Section 54-71, Definitions.
I'll open that public hearing. Any comment on that? There being none, I'll close that hearing.
Next hearing, Chapter 70, Article 4, District Regulations, Division 14, Dimensional Requirements, Section 70-536, Table of Dimensional Requirements. This one was the footnote that had to be fixed.
Okay. I'll open that hearing. I don't see any comment, so I'll close that hearing.
Next hearing, amendments to Appendix C, fee schedule for the transfer station, the fee changes.
I'll open that public hearing. Nobody want to talk about their fee change? Everybody's for it then? Okay. I'll close that public hearing.
Next hearing, medical marijuana retail store renewal. This is for Lisbon Cannabis at 5 Canal Street.
I'll open that public hearing. Don't see any comment on that. I'll close that hearing.
Next hearing, adult use marijuana retail store renewal for River Driver Cannabis Company.
I'll open that public hearing. I don't see any comments, or hear any comments. I'll close that hearing.
Next hearing, medical marijuana retail store license. This is a new license for Smoky Falls.
I'll open that public hearing.
I believe the owners are here tonight, if you have any questions for them.
Smoky Falls owners. Hi.
To the podium if you'd like to speak.
Are there any questions?
Well, nope.
Oh, yeah.
This is the old Austin Auto, well, whatever it was after that. Austin Auto Electric, it used to be, but
Chiropractor? Yeah.
chiropractor place, yeah, okay. No further comments. I'll close that hearing.
Next item, special amusement and liquor license renewal hearing for Sandra Harkins doing business as Railroad Restaurant and Pub.
I'll open that public hearing. Any comments on? I don't see any, so we will close that hearing.
All right.
Next item.
Next, we have audience participation and response for agenda items.
Anybody in the audience have anything they wish to talk about for the agenda items? There being none, next item.
Next item is the consent agenda. Consent agenda items are considered routine and will be considered for adoption by one motion with no separate discussion unless a counselor requests an item be removed. Any counselor wishing to remove an item may do so now. Seeing none, Order 2023-85, to approve the municipal accounts payable warrants, $298,793.52. The municipal payroll warrants, $189,315.79. School accounts payable warrants, $116,630.87. School payroll warrants, $757,913.05. The minutes of May 2nd and May 9th. The medical marijuana retail store renewal for Lisbon Cannabis at 5 Canal Street. The adult use marijuana retail store renewal for River Driver Cannabis Company. The medical marijuana retail store license for Smoky Falls. The special amusement and liquor license renewal for Sandra Harkins doing business as Railroad Restaurant and Pub. To renew the victualers licenses that you have a list of. The victualers licenses for Sweet Cakes Bake Shop and Anything Goes. The victualers and itinerant vendor licenses for Smoke and Phil's Belly Best and Barbecue. And to set a public hearing for the municipal budget and CIP budget for June 20th.
Make a motion we approve as spoken.
A second. I'll second it. I have a question, though, if I may.
Sure.
On, I believe it's F, the renewal for 5 Canal Street, does that answer the concern that Laura and I had operating without a license? She sent us an email.
I'm not privy to that email.
I believe that the 207 had actually spoke to Glenn today about part of that, about whether it's going to be hers would be on the agenda tonight, and that was already pre-approved by the council at an earlier date.
To clarify, 207 Edibles was approved at an earlier meeting with a condition, which hasn't yet been met, but it may be soon, or I might not have information if it was today. But that's a separate business at that address.
But
The concern was both businesses, though, right? They're saying that both businesses are operating without a license right now.
I don't have information about the other business being without a license.
So I just want to make sure that we take care of that.
As far as I know, all the licensing that has to happen with the marijuana stores in town is either in process or has happened.
Okay. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Order passed, vote 7-0. The next item on the agenda, we've had a request to move the item up because
Town attorney has another council meeting, so I wanted to get the dangerous buildings out of the way.
Okay.
so if we can take order 2023-87 first, the Union Street Dangerous Building.
All right.
Would you like a motion for discussion? I'd make a motion on this item for discussion.
A second.
Okay.
So I've never done one of these, so Kristen, floor is yours.
So you've got the mic.
Thank you. Kristen Collins, Town Attorney. So there are two processes to handle dangerous buildings under the statute. One is to go to court, and the other one is for the council by order to order that a dangerous condition be addressed in however is appropriate. I sometimes recommend the court procedure. In this case, this is a little bit more of an emergent issue. This was a building that was severely damaged by fire a few months ago and is completely uninhabitable and not savable as far as I understand. And it is not inhabited, which is why I felt comfortable bringing it to the council for this process rather than going to court on this one. So the process is a notice was served upon the owner, Mr. Garcia, by Sheriff's Service, and that notice was actually for the meeting that was scheduled for last week on the 9th. This action was continued until this week. I did speak to Mr. Garcia by phone and got confirmation by email from him that he was aware that it was getting continued to tonight. And so the next process is to hold the public hearing. There was no comment, but I do think the council should make sure that if Mr. Garcia or any agents for him are in the room, that they're able to speak. So I gave the council a draft order But first, I think the appropriate thing would be to hear from the code enforcement officer as to the condition of the building and the need for this dangerous building order, and then if Mr. Garcia or his agent is available, to hear from him.
Okay, Mark?
Mark Stumbach, Code Enforcement Officer. I have not been inside this building, but have looked at it from the exterior several times. It has continually gotten worse. The roof is completely caved in at this point. It's been exposed to the weather since February 4th, which was the date of the fire. And on the right-hand side, as you look at it from Union Street, there's extensive damage on the second floor. And it looks like into the first floor as well. I do not see any value to the building or savability at this point in time.
Okay. So it needs to come down, obviously?
To save it, I don't think would be worth the effort or cost. It would cost more to try to save it than it would to raise it and build new.
All right. Any questions for code enforcement? Thank you, Mark. Is there, sorry, go ahead.
I'm sorry, if I may just jump back in. So the order that's in front of you would give Mr. Garcia 30 days to demolish the building. That deadline is up to the council. You can extend it if you want. The order also provides for an opportunity to extend up to 30 days if progress is being made towards the deadline. If the building is not taken down by the deadline or any extension of the deadline, then the council would have the authority to order the demolition of the building. Without actually having any further action by the council, it would just proceed and staff could direct that the building be taken down. And the way it works from there is that the costs of doing so, the costs of the demolition, and all other related costs to it are billed to the property owner. And if he does not pay within 30 days, then they get assessed as a special tax against the property on the next commitment. And it's treated just like any other tax on the property. If it's unpaid after about 2 years, the property would get foreclosed upon, in this case, without the building on it.
All right. Is there anybody in the audience representative for the building?
Please step to the microphone,
Could you
sir.
step up, give us your name and where you live?
Hi, good afternoon, evening. Jamie Fortier, Realtor with Bean Group, helping Mr. Garcia through this process. In the last, thanks for having us.
Sure.
And we've had several conversations with Mr. Cunningham. We are taking action with this building, trying to do the right thing here. We're working with a buyer currently. I believe they've taken an application for a demo permit. We're working to get a representative in there to assess to see if there's asbestos or not. That would determine whether the building would stay local or would be sent over to Norwich Walk. So that's kind of those folks have been called. They're not on the schedule yet to get into the property, but I would assume in the next few days or a week we'll have that answer of if the property can stay local. And I think that was one of the determining factors for the demolition permit. The main question was, is there asbestos or not? So that's what we're diligently working on, so we could make those further decisions. So if there is no asbestos in the property, it sounds like a demo permit would be moved right along, and then the current buyer that we're working with would then get his equipment over there, and the building would come down shortly thereafter. I understand also that the buyer's working on a set of plans and maybe a variance for a new, much bigger, better, or a new building to sort of make everything look just a new building. So we'd love to have the 60 days just because things take time. Mr. Garcia has been over there. He's cleaned up the grounds, which I've seen. We're in this together. We would have loved to have taken care of this sooner, etc. We'd love to never have this happen, but we're dealing with it. So if we could have some grace, some time. Here we are. Any questions that I may be able to answer or concerns?
So the current owner has no interest in demoing it and rebuilding?
Not at this time,
So-
but I can have Mr. Garcia speak on that, but
That's fine. I mean, right now you're working with a buyer though?
correct.
Okay.
Mr. Chapman.
They have representatives here as well.
Oh,
Oh.
is Monica?
Okay.
Oh, hey, Monica. So Monica's here,
Okay.
representing them.
So you're looking for 60 days instead of, do we do 60 or can?
You can absolutely do 60 if you'd like.
But we also, Mr. Chair, if I may, so we also could move forward with the 30 and then extend it if there's if
Well,
things
that's
seem to
what I
be
was thinking,
progressing a
whether we
little
should do
bit.
30 and then 30 if you need,
Yeah.
30 more if you need it.
How much difficulty is it to extend it?
It would just be another council meeting.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But,
so
well,
that's-
I mean, worked into the order is the ability for the CEO to extend it by the other 30 days. If they needed beyond the 60, they'd have to come back to council.
No, okay.
That sounds like a good plan.
Staying with 30 and then allowing,
Yeah, they can do it automatically, right?
And codes can be extended.
Correct.
Yeah,
Yep.
that sounds,
And you wouldn't need to change anything with that order that's in front of you.
that works. I mean, we don't have a problem with that. We want to give you the time you need to work it all out.
And we may not need it, hopefully.
Yeah.
However, just trying to put that foresight out there.
Sure.
so Mr. Chair, just to clarify, so what we are voting on tonight is the order that's out front of us for the 30 with the opportunity to extend it later on, if necessary, right?
So I think our overall concern is to get that thing down or taken care of quickly as possible. Don't want to hold you up, and nor do we want the unnecessary delays.
Likewise.
Well, it sounds like the buyer is the one doing the demo, right? Not the owner.
Correct.
Okay.
So I know
Maybe
every
we
day
can hear from,
somebody's
maybe we
asking.
hear from the buyer.
I think it'd be a good idea to hear from the buyer.
Is that Don?
I was just going to say, every day I go down, when I go down to some of the businesses down there, I hear questions every day about the condition of the building and about the increased danger that's there every time weather changes.
Right. Hello,
How are you?
I'm fine. Could I have your name and your address for the record, please?
Sure, it's going to surprise you though. My name is Monica Kelly, and I live in Forest, Virginia.
Virginia.
Yes.
Okay.
I am the executive assistant for William Chapman, who is the actual buyer. And
Okay.
he just happens to be at a conference today. I think this kind of came up, he was already away out of town. So I came up to represent him.
Okay, can you give us a little idea on what Mr. Chapman's plans are?
From what I was filled in on, it's just to get the building down and, for safety reasons, and I will not, I'm not going to exaggerate or anything. I don't know what the plan would be as far as what the actual build at this moment. I just know that whatever the goal would be to better the community, bring something to the community that would be beneficial.
Right.
And obviously, I have to talk to Will about his actual plans for the property. But first things first is just getting that building down, getting it safe, the site to be safe.
Right.
A vacant lot is far better than
Yep.
a dangerous building at this point.
Absolutely.
Has the sale taken place yet, or is that still in the works?
I think this just got into the works.
Okay, so it's all contingent on the sale, and then,
I don't think we're worried about the sale going through at all.
okay. So if that's a done deal, it seems as though the taking the building down could happen fairly quickly, I would imagine.
I'm a pretty fast-paced worker, so.
Okay. Good.
I
Well, we're
found
going to
out about
rely
this
on
yesterday
you.
and flew here, so.
We will rely on you to make sure that that's done post-haste.
Yeah.
So the hang-up, or if there is a delay right now, is because of the asbestos possibilities. And that's yet to be cleared. And you're saying, somebody's saying shortly. Right. Yeah, okay.
We have to get the clear, the all clear, and then we have to go through the proper demolition.
Sure.
procedures.
No, abatement becomes very expensive, so does that change the deal? Let's say it does have asbestos, is he still gonna buy it?
Oh, we still want the lot.
You still want the lot, because that becomes very expensive. Is this a cash buyer or something?
I honestly I don't want to speak to Will's financial. I'm not sure how he plans on buying it, but we recently bought other lots in Lisbon. So
This one's a little different. It's a building that's burnt down.
buying land is not a problem for us. That's what we've been doing.
Yeah, I understand
There
that.
you go.
Yeah.
Good job.
I understand. We're going to be buying it, demoing it. We're responsible for that.
Okay.
Mr. Chair, may I?
Sure.
Biggest concern is if it was on the outskirts of Lisbon, you may not be as interested in it, but it'd be a lot easier to actually leave it as it is. I mean, I've been really concerned it's actually stayed as long as it has, so to me, it would have to be a very trying moment for it to be still standing 30 days from tonight. The neighbors, as council people, we've been getting a lot of calls from neighbors in the neighborhood, especially people that walk their kids to the library, that walk through the sidewalks and stuff. So, I definitely, there has to be room for some type of workability, but to me, anybody that's looking into it, I would hope to think that it would be down within 30 days, or, it would have to be something pretty serious for us to extend it, I think, at this point in time, my own opinion. It's been quite a while already.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
Any other discussion? Are we ready to vote?
Yes.
What are we voting on, Lisa?
I'm going to let Kristen tell us.
My suggestion would be to read the order out loud.
I can do that.
And then to make a motion to accept it.
Okay. Thank you for your information.
All right. Whereas it has come to the attention of the town of Lisbon that a residential structure located at 6 Union Street, the building, is a structurally unsafe, a fire hazard, unsuitable for the use of or occupancy to which it is put, constitutes a hazard to health or safety because of inadequate maintenance or dilapidation, and is otherwise dangerous to life or property, and whereas the town's code enforcement officer has found upon inspection of the structure that the building was heavily damaged by fire on February 4th, 2023. The building is missing over half of its roof system, which has allowed the interior of the building to be exposed to the elements. The general condition of the building is uninhabitable due to the extensive structural damage resulting from the fire, and the building is located immediately adjacent to the public way, and debris from the building has fallen into the public way. Whereas the Town Council on May 16, 2023 held a hearing pursuant to 17 MRSA Section 2851, having continued the hearing from May 9, 2023. Whereas the owner of the building, Hansel Z. Garcia, was duly notified of said hearing pursuant to 17 MRSA Section 2857 and acknowledged the continuance to May 16, 2023. And whereas the town's code enforcement officer, Mark Stombach, testified at the hearing as to his findings regarding the building as stated above and contained within a memorandum to the council dated April 27, 2023. Now, therefore, the town council hereby orders that 1. The town council accepts the findings of the code enforcement officer as stated above as true and hereby accepts said findings as its own. 2. The building located at North Main Street, tax map U05, lot 211 is...
That's the wrong address.
Oh, that is the wrong... Okay, the building located at 11...
6 Union.
Is 6 Union? Okay.
6 Union.
6 Union Street. I'll make that change here. And I believe this part is correct. The tax map U05, lot 211 is hereby declared to be a dangerous building as defined by 17 MRSA Section 2851. That is, A, unsuitable for use or occupancy as a residential dwelling. B, is structurally unsafe. C, constitutes a health or safety hazard because of inadequate maintenance or dilapidation. And D, risks harm to the public and property within the public way adjacent to the building. Therefore, the building is adjudged to be a dangerous nuisance. 3. For the above reasons, the Town Council orders that the owner shall, 1, immediately secure the building and placard it as unfit for habitation, And 2, within 45 days of the date of this order, in consultation with the code enforcement officer and in compliance with all relevant local, state, and federal laws, demolish the building and remove and properly dispose of all debris from the building. The code enforcement officer may, in his discretion, grant a single extension of the time for the owner to demolish the building by no more than 30 days if reasonable progress is being made toward complying with the order. Is that 45 days correct, Kristen?
Well,
that should be 30.
I misspoke about the 30, so we could make it 30 if that's what the council wishes. The 45 is what was printed in the order.
We don't have a motion yet, so now's a good time to make those changes.
It's fine the way it is. That's
45 days and 30?
30.
30 and 30?
Yeah.
Okay. And 4, if said building is not removed by the stated date or any granted extension, the town or its properly engaged agents or contractors may enter the property and remove the building. All expenses relating to the removal of the building and abatement of the nuisance shall be repaid to the town by the owner within 30 days after the town's demand, or a special tax shall be assessed against the land on which the building was located for the amount of the expenses, and that amount shall be included on the next annual warrant to the tax collector for collection and collected in the same manner as other town taxes are collected. Expenses to be recovered shall include but are not limited to the cost of title searches, location reports, service of process, reasonable attorney's fees, costs of removal of the building, any costs incurred in securing the building pending its removal, and all other costs incurred by the town that are reasonably related to the removal of the building. The town shall also reserve the right to collect any expenses through a civil action. 5, an appeal of this order may be made to the Androscoggin County Superior Court pursuant to MR CIVP 80B within 30 days of the order. So with the changes that I made, including the address correction and changing the 45 days in print to the 30 days that we verbally discussed, we'll look for a motion.
Actually, I think we had a first.
We have a
and second.
motion on the floor
Yeah.
to discuss. That can, usually, that is,
If you like, I would actually make a new motion to accept as written,
A second.
if that works for you.
Would that be with 45 days to the 30?
Well, as spoken, I
As
guess.
spoken.
As spoken, yeah.
As amended.
As spoken, yeah.
who was the second?
It says
Ray, I think.
Oh, got it. Yeah. But now it's 30.
Are you good? Are you good?
I'm good.
You got it? Okay. All those in favor?
Mr. Chair, I have a question. Before
Okay.
we vote,
Okay.
I know that the address was changed. Are we absolutely sure that we have the tax map number right?
That is correct.
Okay, good. Then I have no objection.
All those in favor?
I'm tearing down your house down. Mr.
All
Chair,
we need is,
The vote was 7-0, so the order passes.
while legal's here, can I ask a question on the same topic? Is that a possibility?
Sure. If she's willing to answer you.
So the question that I have is with our ordinance that we have in place, if the building next to it burnt down, it was actually a very dangerous scenario in our downtown next to our library. I know other communities around us actually tear down buildings within days of them being burnt. Does Lisbon have that capability now, or we strictly don't have that capability because of the way our ordinance is written?
So we've used the statutory process here tonight. There is ordinance language around dilapidated buildings, dangerous buildings. I prefer to go with the statutory language when I deal with one of these. If we're ever in a situation where something had to come down right away, what I would do is file something in court and ask for immediate order to demolish the building, which I have done and gotten a court order in 48 hours before.
So we actually have, in our ordinance written now, we have the capabilities of moving forward with that if it's deemed that there's immediate danger and something would need to be removed.
Under the ordinance and under state law, yeah.
Okay, good. Thank you.
that's good.
Next item.
So we'll go back to the first item, which is Order 2023-86, to award the contract for EMS services.
My understanding is that we have 2 resolutions, one for each service. Do you want to read?
I can read each of the draft orders, and then you can ask for a motion if you want. Okay.
You want to do it one at a time, or you just want to read both? And then we'll just...
I'll read both, and
Okay.
then we'll wait for a motion. Okay.
Very good.
So I'm just randomly going to do it in the order that I have it on my
All right.
notebook. So the first one I have is the selection of United Ambulance as EMS provider. So this is a draft order that may be under consideration. Whereas the Town Council of Lisbon received proposals from 2 entities to provide emergency medical services for the town, and whereas the Town Council held a workshop to thoroughly review the proposals and ask additional questions to determine the most responsive and responsible proposal, and whereas United Ambulance submitted the lowest bid in the amount of $275,000, demonstrating a commitment to providing cost-effective EMS services to the town of Lisbon, and whereas United Ambulance has the capability to provide the necessary staffing, resources, and equipment to ensure the delivery of high-quality EMS services to the town of Lisbon, and whereas the Town Council is confident in United Ambulance's ability to maintain and improve the standard of EMS services in the town. Now therefore be it ordered by the Town Council of Lisbon, Section 1. The Town Council hereby selects United Ambulance as the EMS provider for the town of Lisbon with an award amount of $275,000 based on their status as a low bidder, their demonstrated ability to provide the necessary staffing, resources, and equipment, and their commitment to maintaining and improving the standard of EMS services in the town. Section 2, the town manager is hereby authorized and directed to negotiate and execute a contract with the United Ambulance for the provision of EMS services, subject to the review and approval of the town attorney. Section 3, the town council encourages United Ambulance to engage in ongoing communication and collaboration with the town of Lisbon and its residents to ensure the continued delivery of high-quality, cost-effective EMS services. Section 4, this order... Okay, this order shall take effect on July 1, 2023. And that is the draft council order if council decides to go with United Ambulance. The draft order for selection of a Lisbon Emergency as an EMS provider. Whereas the Town Council of Lisbon received proposals from 2 entities to provide emergency medical services for the town, and whereas the Town Council held a workshop to thoroughly review the proposals and ask additional questions of the bidders to determine the most responsive and responsible proposal, and whereas Lisbon Emergency has demonstrated the ability to provide the staffing necessary for EMS services and is currently physically located in the town of Lisbon, ensuring rapid response times and familiarity with the community. And whereas, based upon all the information available to the council, it believes Lisbon Emergency to be better situated to provide quality and reliability of EMS services in Lisbon. And whereas Lisbon Emergency has indicated their willingness to engage in good faith discussions with the town of Lisbon and regional partners to explore potential consolidation and develop a permanent solution to address the town's EMS needs. Now therefore be it ordered by the Town Council of Lisbon, Section 1. The Town Council hereby selects Lisbon Emergency as the EMS provider for the town of Lisbon with an award amount of $334,626.96 based on their demonstrated ability to provide the necessary staffing, their physical location within the town, and their commitment to collaborate with the town and regional partners to address the town's EMS needs. Section 2, the town manager is hereby authorized and directed to negotiate and execute a contract with Lisbon Emergency for the provision of EMS services, subject to the review and approval of the town attorney. Section 3, the town council encourages Lisbon Emergency to engage in good faith discussions with the town of Lisbon and regional partners to explore potential consolidation opportunities and to work collaboratively to develop a permanent solution that addresses the town's EMS needs. Section 4, this order shall take effect on July 1, 2023. Those are the 2 draft orders. Again, they're drafts, and I'll let you take it
Any
from here.
discussion with council?
Mr. Chair, before we make a motion, when we last had our meeting or workshop, you indicated that it was going to be referred back to the safety committee for a final take on it. Did that happen, and to what degree?
The polling of the safety committee took place, and the recommendation is Lisbon emergency.
Okay.
Any further discussion? We ready to vote?
I need to know which draft the council.
Lisbon emergency draft first, and then we'll vote on United's draft.
You only have to vote on one, the one you would like. So if you want to, if somebody would make a motion to select Lisbon Emergency as an EMS provider, as provided in the council order, then we would need a motion and a second for that.
I make the motion to accept Lisbon emergency.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Order passed, vote 7-0. There's no need to take action on the other since it's a draft.
I appreciate the representatives from both services being here. It was a tough decision. I personally was unsure, but I think that the piece that pushed me over was the collaboration idea with Lisbon Emergency. The state is providing money for consolidation of services. I think that's a great idea to try to encompass more agencies to provide the services that everybody needs. United, thank you so much for your bid and your time that you've spent. Any other comments?
I'd just like to thank everyone for the emails that I've received, which I've received quite a few. And it's nice to see the involvement in the community. And it definitely helps us to try to make the right decision. So I really appreciate all the emails.
Next item.
Order 2023-88. This is for the sewer extension.
Thank you so much. United and Lisbon Emergency, thank you.
Good evening, Steve Aviolic, Sewer Department. Over the course of the past 6 weeks, we've had a couple residents come forward that are interested in connecting to the town sewer just beyond where our current sewer replacement is taking place on Main Street. And we've been working with our engineers and, of course, with McGee Construction and DOT's engineers, looking at different options. And we had a couple things that were presented to us. And before I get into this, the documentation I sent into Glenn Michalowski, and also it found its way into the agenda, has a typo with the addresses. This is the two homes or properties looking to connect is 132 and 133, not 131 and 132. I just wanted to make that known. But one of the first option that was looked at for these homes connecting was actually just running stubs of both properties. One's about 65 feet away from the sewer, the other one's 180 feet. The estimated pricing based on what we've received from McGee Construction and through the bid process for the Main Street project, for these properties to connect, their charge would be about $9,600 just within the right-of-way. For 132 and for 133 Main Street, it was over $20,000. And looking at those amounts and going down, looking at the area, realized that there are two other properties that could connect in the future. That's why I sent it, proposed to the town manager the possibility of the town looking to actually extend the sewer 180 feet, with the town paying for a portion of that. It would reduce the cost of both homeowners for the portion that within the right-of-way. Within the right-of-way, there would be other costs to them of getting it into their home that they would have to work out with McGee Construction and potentially a plumber for the internal plumbing. But try to do this in a way that the cost was only coming to the town
homeowners would take care of some of it, and trying to find the best way to split that cost to these two property owners based on the distances they are, that they would be covered to get them connected to the sewer. And that's how I came up with the amounts that I did. I just took that total length. It was $18,000 that would be left if the town were to pay 20,000 of it, and 180 feet. I just divided that 18, from the 180, came up with $100 per foot, which is less than half the cost of the sewer installation, and basically divided that based on 65 feet for one home, be $6,500, and then 115 feet to get to where the other home would connect would be $11,500. And with doing that, and with the sewer extension itself, town council actually needs to approve this work occurring, to make this extension go forward. And I just wanted to bring it to you tonight, see if it's possible to go forward. I still have not heard from both homeowners of whether they want to move forward with this project. I asked them to get back to me, and I have not heard from them yet. So there is still a possibility that this may not go forward. And at the same time, in 3 different areas in the vicinity of Sparsam Street, ledge has been found in the roadway.
Ooh.
And so ledge is a real possibility of getting up through this area, which is going to bring added costs. And that's one reason I propose that, if ledge is encountered, it's by the contract, it's $230 per cubic yard to basically excavate and remove it. So there's a huge cost to that. And with not knowing how much could be encountered, if it is encountered, we would have to reevaluate these costs in order to go forward. But the goal tonight was to get approval to be able to do this work, if it does come to light, and then we would reevaluate if the ledge is a problem. And we have our fingers crossed that it isn't if we do go forward with it, because we don't want to have to deal with it. Nobody else does, because it'll really delay the project instead of getting that 180 feet, which could be done in a few days.
Make a motion for discussion.
A second.
Now, Steve, I had mentioned this way back when about the extension going up to the length of the project. Now that's 131 and 133. Is that what you said?
Yes.
I mean, now, has there been any ask of the other customers up the road at all? Was that strictly because of the distance? Or, to me, if we're going to send it for a couple more, we would ought to be checking with the other neighbors up there to just have 100-year-old septic systems that potentially could hook on. I just want to make sure it's fair and equitable. If we're going to do it, I would want to make sure that anybody that could be checked in is checked with. That's all.
Yeah, we haven't gotten to that point, and that's one of the things is it's the unknown. The unknown is there right now, and it is that cost. We don't know what we're going to run into in the ground. I'm actually kind of a little nervous about it. Just the fact that they're finding ledge with the little bit of work they're doing now, so we don't know what we're going to come into. But we could make those contacts and see if people are interested. It is something we would have to do in very short order, because they're in that vicinity now actually working on the sewer line.
Yep. And really, I mean, I think it's none of your fault. It was just really short-sighted of the town's engineering work initially, not to actually think of running a sewer for the full length of the project. It was really short thought process, I think.
What would happen in order for this to go forward, it would not be paid for out of the rural development project.
Yeah.
The rural development project would actually only replace the existing sewer. No, the rural development funding would replace the existing sewer that's there. They would not pay for new
Anything
installation.
extension. Yep. I understand. I mean, Lisbon actually has a very unique policy on extending, utilities, which I think is going to bite us maybe later on down the road. But for now, I totally understand it. But I guess it is what it is. I mean, and once that road's paved and everything's done, I mean, those houses that have those old systems will have them again for another 30, 40 years, if not longer, because of no ability to do anything different. That's all.
Absolutely. And the way our ordinances are written, there is one section that actually has if the town were to extend the sewer and paying for that, and has another extension. Say if a builder or developer were to actually want to extend the sewer and they would pay for it, and ultimately it would come to the town. There is nothing in the ordinances about cost sharing. I just want to make sure we all understand that so it doesn't come back to haunt me later.
Meaning there's no there's no obligation for the town to share any costs. They would go completely to the homeowners or whoever.
The way the ordinances are written, it's either one way or the other. It doesn't show anything for cost sharing.
Yeah.
And I'm actually coming to you proposing that do a little bit of cost sharing,
Yeah.
because in the
Makes
scheme of
sense.
things,
Yeah.
scheme of things, it would save the homeowners money in the long run. It would actually, down the road, we run into less confusion, like we ran into with Lower Main Street with the way the sewer installation was done there over the years. And there's future benefit for other homes to be able to hook into it, too, at the moment.
And may I ask a question, Chair?
Sure.
I know on that end of Main Street also, there's a great elevation concern, right? Because you're coming uphill. At later dates, is there an opportunity where, I know a couple of those houses up towards where our shop are, basically, I'm not sure how they'd even redo their septic systems because of the way they're set up right now. You mean, is there a possibility to go in the other way down into Houston Street if that was a concern later on with the pitch and...
I would think there would be.
Yeah, just the road have to get dug back up. That's the only downfall, right?
Right. It would be dug up, but there is a manhole on probably about 200 feet or so in front of
Crafts.
yes.
That's where we're hooked for the shop, yeah.
Yes.
So if we extend the sewer so some of the older homes up there can connect, would they also be required to hook up to water?
They already are.
Yeah, they already are.
Well, they have water?
Yes, sir.
They just don't have sewer?
Yes. As far as to my knowledge, they do. There's already water running up through there that I know of. As part of this extension, some of the water, the way the current installation design for the water is going to be shifted a little bit to make this installation easier on us and reduce the cost by about $10,000.
So the big issue right now is the ledge.
Yeah,
There's some
there's
concerns about.
very real possibility we're going to run into it.
Okay. All right. We have a motion. Are we voting? What are we voting on?
I have here moving to approve a sewer extension at 131 and 133.
It would actually be 132 and 133.
132 and 133 Main Street, as presented with the condition that the sewer department comes back to the council if the costs rise too much due to the ledge.
Okay. Sound good?
I would always encourage the idea if we can bring more people in
Yeah.
and actually expand it more, that'd be beneficial. But
Yeah.
it's just like, I mean, people raise a neighbor and say, well, I want to get sewer, but you can't. I mean, it's one of those things where even if someone may even want to pay for the whole bill for all I know. I don't know, but it just seemed to be fair and equitable. Would want to make sure we could go as far as we could and at least give the people the option.
Right.
You know, if they want to pay $100,000 actually be hooked up and they want to pay for the rest of the line, I mean, that's really up to them. At least they have the option, right?
Yes.
Versus the idea of just saying we're only going to limit it to the people that came out front. I mean, but again, that's just my own opinion.
Do you want to amend the motion to?
I mean, I myself, I'd like to amend it so we're not actually just putting two addresses on there. I would just say the extension of the sewer, whatever's feasible in a sense. But, I mean, that would be, right now, the way it's written, we're only going to be, you know, really looking for those two places. And maybe it's not even feasible to be on there. It may not even be feasible to do theirs for all I know, but...
Can you research that and come back and say, okay, like we spoke to the next 10 residences or however far they're going, or?
Yeah, we can research that, and we have to work around with McGee's schedule as well, McGee Construction.
But do you need a vote tonight either way?
I think, couldn't we actually just amend it to the idea of the extension without actually listing property numbers? I mean, would that be an option?
It'd be two, because there would be a total of 4 that could benefit from this right now.
Yeah.
We have 2 that want to connect now. There's 2 in the future that could connect.
It has been presented as being several homes, so you could say on Main Street as presented and strike the numbers.
Yep. I would strike the numbers and just actually allow, within time restraints. I know they're digging, right? They're moving forward, and it all comes down to the idea of if we're not ready, they're just going to keep moving forward anyway. So
they did say that if they do get to a point where they're actually at the current end of the sewer, they'll go on and work on water, and they could come back to sewer. But we need to have a plan in place because the current installation of the water, if they do it as it's currently drawn, it could present an issue for us. No, cost-wise, because it would increase the cost. We'd have to put in 2 extra manholes across a water main. And that's one thing we're just trying to, that's another $10,000. that we would be looking at roughly. We're just trying to keep those costs down as much as we can.
Yeah, I'd say whatever makes sense. I mean, but I would just want to label it to particular households once you determine what is feasible and what's not.
Do you have an amendment?
What's that?
Do you have an amendment?
Sounds like we don't have to make an amendment. We just strike the numbers, right? Is that what the clerk said?
Just leave it as an extension.
Hey, we would have to look at the fact if we do move forward with these two homes and there is a cost sharing involved, we will have to have some type of agreement with them because we will actually have to pay the bill and then recoup those costs of whatever is agreed upon.
Just don't turn on that water eventually. You get no.
So, Mr. Chair, how does the motion read now?
No, I mean, we had a motion and then we had another motion, so I don't know where we are.
So, Councilor LaRochelle clarified that his motion is to approve a sewer extension on Main Street as presented with the condition that the sewer department comes back to the council if costs rise too much due to ledge.
Period.
That's what I have.
Okay. All in favor?
Votes, order passed, vote 7-0.
Besides the ledge, the project looks like it's moving forward pretty well.
Yes, it is. It is. A lot better than the Lower Main Street did for us.
Thank you, Steve.
Thank you.
Have a good night, Steve.
Next item is Order 2023-89, the victualler's license for Olive Pit Brewing Company. Normally, this would be in the consent agenda, but since Councilor Kane is the owner and on the council, we decided to move it so there wouldn't have to be moving around.
Make a motion, we approve the order.
Second.
Any discussion?
I don't want to assume abstention, but
Yes.
okay.
All in favor?
Okay. Order passed, 6-0.
Next item.
6-1.
6-0. 6-0-1, right. So next item is Order 2023-90. This is a conditional victualler's license for Angelo's Pizza. This motion would approve the victualler's license for Angelo's with the condition that the fire suppression equipment pass the state inspection within 30 days.
I make that motion.
Seconded.
The code enforcement officer is here if anyone has questions, but it's pretty self-explanatory.
Is this going to be Mark, you want to come up and just tell us what's up?
Mark Stumbaugh, Code Enforcement Officer. I understand from Chief LeClaire that since 2019, the fire extinguishers and fire suppression system over the hood, or in the hood over the grills, has not been inspected and recertified. And so to move their license forward, I suggested that I give him 30 days, and he agreed to that and said he'd take care of it. But I want to make sure that I've got the ability to pull the license back if it does not get done, because it's been 4 years.
Do you know who does that inspection?
I'm sorry?
Do you know who does that? The state
I'm not
fire?
sure who he's got scheduled for it. It would be one of the fire suppression companies.
Okay.
AAA or one of the others.
Fire Safe does it too out of Auburn.
Yeah.
How,
Okay.
Mr. Chair, how often is the inspection supposed to
Should be done every year.
Oh, boy.
Yeah.
Alrighty. Is this a voice vote? Okay. We ready for a vote? Okay. Proceed to a vote.
Yes, you can. Oh, it's not a roll call.
Oh, I thought you said it was.
Oh, no,
I thought
it's
you said it
I'm
was.
sorry, it's a voice vote.
Oh, all in favor?
Thank you. Order passed, vote 7-0.
I meant roll call, so
Okay.
thank you for clarifying that. Next
All right.
item.
So the next item is Ordinance Amendment 2023-91 to approve the fee changes for itinerant vendors and victualers permits. This is a second reading, and we'll need a roll call vote.
Make a motion to approve.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
This is the food truck one.
And it's a roll call.
All in
It's a
favor?
roll call.
Roll call.
Counselor Kane?
Yes.
Counselor Fellows?
Yes.
Counselor Keller?
Yes.
Counselor LaRochelle?
Yes.
Counselor Lunt?
Yes.
Counselor Moore?
Aye.
Counselor Robichaud.
Yes.
7 yeas, 0 nays. Order passed, vote 7-0. Next is Ordinance Amendment 2023-92, Chapter 42, Post-Construction Stormwater Management, Section 42-121-2, second reading, and it will need a roll call vote.
Motion to approve.
I'll second.
This is one of the things that was mandated by the state.
We're ready to proceed.
Okay, Counselor Kane?
Yes.
Counselor Fellows?
Yes.
Counselor Keller?
Yes.
Counselor LaRochelle?
Yes.
Counselor Lunt?
Yes.
Counselor Moore?
Aye.
Counselor Robichaud?
Yes.
7 yeas, 0 nays. Order passed, vote 7-0. Next ordinance amendment is 2023-93. This is Chapter 54, Article 3, Swimming Pools, Section 54-71, Definitions. This is a second reading and a roll call vote. This is the one that just brought the town's ordinance in line with the state.
Make a motion to approve.
I'll second.
Ready for a vote?
Counselor Kane?
Yes.
Counselor Fellows?
Yes.
Counselor Keller?
Yes.
Counselor LaRochelle?
Yes.
Counselor Lunt?
Yes.
Counselor Moore?
Aye.
Counselor Robichaud?
Yes.
7 yeas, 0 nays. The order passed, vote 7-0. Next is Ordinance Amendment 2023-94, Chapter 70, Article 4, District Regulations, Division 14, Dimensional Requirements, Section 70-536, Table of Dimensional Requirements. This is the footnote.
Motion to approve.
Okay,
I'll second.
all right.
All in favor?
Roll call.
Keeps trying.
Counselor Kane?
Yes.
Counselor Fellows?
Yes.
Counselor Keller?
Yes.
Counselor LaRochelle?
Yes.
Counselor Lunt?
Yes.
Counselor Moore?
Aye.
Counselor Robichaud?
Yes.
7 yeas, 0 nays. Order passed, vote 7-0. Ordinance Amendment 2023-95, amendments to Appendix C, the fee schedule for the transfer station fee changes. This is a second reading and a roll call vote.
Is there a motion?
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
Are we ready to vote?
I'm ready if you are. Counselor Kane?
Yes.
Counselor Fellows?
Yes.
Counselor Keller?
Yes.
Counselor LaRochelle?
Yes.
Counselor Lunt?
Yes.
Counselor Moore?
Aye.
Counselor Robichaud?
Yes.
7 yeas, 0 nays. Order passed, vote 7-0. Next is Order 2023-96. This is the grant endorsement for the Lisbon ATV clubs.
Good afternoon, Ross Cunningham, Economic Community Development. Just a little background on this. The Bureau of Land and Parks offers 2 grants to ATV clubs. They offer a club grant, which caps out at $7,000, and they offer a municipal grant, which goes up to unlimited number. The Riverside Trail Riders came to us looking for an endorsement on a municipal grant, which means we have to partner with them. They are asking for $15,200 for trail repairs and bridge repairs on the trails. The way this works is we have to, the next item on your agenda is to have an MOU that we would write up with the trail groups to come to an agreement on how the trails will be managed on town land and other lands. Additionally, the monies they receive would come through us, and we would repay their expenses. We would check the expenses and the photos and all that stuff. They've put together a great grant package. It's 90% from the state, 10% from the clubs. There is no actual input by the town, except we have to manage the funds. So we just came to you as a sort of a FYI to make sure you're aware of this. I think worst case scenario, if for some reason the club disintegrated, we'd be on the hook for that 10% and the trail repairs, but that's $1,500. So that's where we're at.
All right.
I make a motion to approve if we need one for this particular order.
Yeah, I'd like to just get your blessing because it's a grant and it has technically a match. It's not, but the match is being covered by the trail riders. So
we have a motion made by Counselor LaRochelle.
I'll second.
The This motion is to authorize the town manager and staff to coordinate and submit a municipal grant for trail maintenance as the fiscal administrator of the grant.
All those in favor?
Vote 7-0, the order pass. Next item, Order 2023-97, to approve the town manager to enter into a memorandum of understanding with the ATV clubs.
Make that motion.
Second?
Any questions? We've drafted an MOU at this point. We've run it by one of the clubs. We're waiting to hear from the other one.
All in favor?
All right, vote 7-0, order passed. All right, next item. Order 2023-98, the CDBG bid acceptance for 210 Lisbon Street. This is to approve the CDBG amount for new windows from Portland Glass for 210 Lisbon Street in the amount of $16,908.89.
I'll make that motion.
A second for discussion.
Essentially, they put out a bid for the windows and the siding, but the siding company could not get the deadline of July 1st as we needed for this round of grants. So we're going to just move forward with the windows at this point.
And this is part of the facade grant.
That is correct, CDBG facade grant. Wrapping up what we hope to be the last one in the 2020 package, which is extended 3 years.
I'm hoping we get more money soon.
I am cautiously optimistic. I was told recently that there were not a full round of applications, so there's plenty of money.
Good deal.
That's it.
Where's 210 Lisbon Street?
Bootleggers?
Thought so.
Yep.
Any more discussion? All those in favor?
Vote 7-0, order passed.
Thank you.
Thanks, Ross. Have a good night.
Thank you.
Next item is Order 2023-99, Finance Committee recommendation on the municipal budget and CIP, and to set a public hearing for, we already set the public hearing. So it's just the recommendation from the Finance Committee.
Is there anyone from the Finance Committee that?
Kevin's here.
Okay.
Kevin Ridley, Finance Committee. A week ago Monday, Finance Committee met. We had a lively discussion. A lot of it was very informative. During that discussion, I presented some recommendations I had based on the workshop we had a while back. The committee asked me to present those recommendations. Two of those recommendations I've taken off because of those discussions. We got a little more information. Also, I did a little budget analysis and compared budgets between a couple of departments and got some good feedback that maybe we needed more data to do that. So I've taken that recommendation out. I believe the finance director is going to look into maybe a different way of analyzing a certain budget, and that'll give us more data. All that said, I'll try not to keep you guys up too late. As a recent appointee of the Town of Lisbon Finance Committee, I attended an all-day workshop on 3/18/23, along with several other budget presentations. Based on those sessions and my own research, I have several comments and recommendations. I learned from all who presented, also from the Town Council's experience and insights into the workings of town governance. I also gained a new appreciation for the school department and the school committee presenting a budget to the town that was $34,000 less than last year. And I understand that they had a significant increase in funding from the state, but all things considered, they could have expanded services and programs and didn't do that. They chose to hold the line, and I appreciate that. So there were several common themes cited in the department budget proposals, all related to increased costs due to inflation. Heating oil, gas, electricity, transportation, gasoline, diesel, vehicles, equipment, machinery, electricity, water, sewer, consumables, etc. As we work through this budget process, let's keep in mind that this is a predominantly residential community, and the majority of the funds required to run the town come from property taxpayers, who face the same inflationary pressures and more. Electricity is up 27% plus new increase coming. Town water's up 14%. Town sewer's up 4.4%. Groceries are projected up another 8%. All this on top of the price of heating our homes, gasoline, vehicles, healthcare, clothing, etc. Another thing I believe we need to think about is what are the primary and secondary functions of town government. I believe educating our children, public safety, and the infrastructure to manage the same are the primary functions. Everything else is secondary. I also believe that two very important considerations for any business or family looking to move into a community are good schools, a well-run, efficient town government. This equates to tax burden. All that said, here are my recommendations. Full disclosure, I'm very close to the town's former park ranger. We are happily married. I have taken advantage of her knowledge and experience, but the recommendations are my own. So number one,
Mr. Ridley, can I stop you for, are we getting a recommendation from the Finance Committee?
Yes.
Is that what this is?
Yeah, this should be the finance committees, not any individual finance committee members.
Right, and if that's the case, then I would ask you to wait until the audience participation.
Excuse me, Harry. The Finance Committee asked me to present this.
Okay, well, you're sounding like it's my opinion is.
And the committee, and there were people, Ray was there during the committee, and so was the town manager, and I was asked to present this.
Okay.
Mr. Chair?
Yes.
May I clarify for my notes, Mr. Ridley, are the recommendations you're about to give us the recommendations from the Finance Committee?
Yes.
Thank you.
Do you agree with me, Ray?
Yeah, that's what Mr. Lent asked them to do.
Okay, great, thank you.
Thank you.
Right.
Okay, number one, Parks and Recreation requests for funds to build a parking lot and a dog fence at Summer Street Park. We recommend, I should use the word we.
Probably,
sorry about that.
because you're doing this sort of the first person thing, and that,
I apologize.
Okay.
We ask that this request be withdrawn, and we ask the Conservation Committee to do the following. Work with a state forester to identify trees in this park ready for selective harvesting. Then put out bids for harvesting. The funds collected from the harvest would be dedicated to improvements at Summer Street Park, starting with construction and maintenance of a parking lot, which I believe is really needed. This should be built for the safety and convenience of park users. We do not recommend building a dog fence. We see this as a very extravagant use of town funds. Note, the original Conservation Committee vision for this park was that it would be self-sustaining with minimal funds required from the town by sustainably managing the forest. We believe the town has a forest management plan in place that lays out how the town's forest resources can be responsibly used to sustain both Beaver Park and Summer Street Park. I am not a forester. However, after my first ever walk through the park, I'm pretty sure it's ready to be selectively harvested. That was recommendation number one. Recommendation number two. We understand the need for a new motor, given the many parks and town-maintained facilities we have today. However, we would fund this request by solving the very expensive cost of heating the Beaver Park Lodge, $2,700 a year. So it's heated by electricity. Is not acceptable. Is not an acceptable cost for heating this building. Do we need a timer? Can we heat it as needed versus around the clock? Can we supplement the heat pump with a wood stove? Also, could we make good use of the town's tree trimming leftovers? Let's find a solution that won't cost us $27,000 over the next 10 years. That's an extravagant cost to heat that lodge. Next recommendation. The Public Works decision to defer scheduled paving that is part of a 10-year plan to bring all the town's roads up to at least minimum standards is not in the taxpayers' best interest. We recommend the following. Let's responsibly stick with the plan and provide consistent funding for this core function of town government. This is a case of pay now or pay more later. Kicking this can down the road will cost us a lot more. Next recommendation, the fire department's request for funding of 2 additional full-time firefighters. Adding 2 additional firefighters comes at a significant expense to the town in wages and benefits and needs careful considerations. We recommend the following. We need to dig in and understand the need for this expenditure. We believe it's reasonable to request the chief to provide written rationale for funding these positions. Let's understand how Lisbon's fire department personnel numbers compare with other similar towns, understanding that there are variables, physical size of town, types of structures, difficulty in recruiting volunteers, etc. If after careful consideration by the town council, the rationale for adding 2 new firefighters is justified and needed, we believe we should fund this core function of town government. In the meantime, let's get a call for volunteer firefighters on the town's electronic sign. We may be pleasantly surprised. Okay, something else we need to factor in is the cost of borrowing. Interest rates have risen significantly and inflation has not abated. The economic winds are blowing in a different direction. And unlike the federal government, thankfully, we cannot borrow trillions of dollars or print money. We need to adjust our sails and deal with these new realities. Live and govern within our means, or the town taxpayers will suffer the consequences in the not-so-distant future. So one of the things I think we need to consider is down-the-road capital expenses, right? So if we need to borrow money for a major expense, the cheap money days are gone, and we need to make sure that we're in a financial position to handle that. And that's all I had. The town manager has put out an email with a justification for the new firefighters. I don't know if that's been sent to the town council.
It was to the finance committee.
Okay. So.
Okay. Thank you.
I would expect you guys to review that.
Thank you.
That's it for me.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Kevin.
Is there a motion to accept the report
I'll make that
as
motion.
presented? Mark, is there a second?
To accept the report, that's what it's for, okay.
Yeah.
Mhm.
All in favor?
Vote 7-0, order passed.
Next item.
Sorry. Next item is other business. This is an update from the Friends of Warumbo.
Good evening, all.
Good evening.
My name is Tracy Austin. I live here in Lisbon, and I'm here to give you an update and share some information regarding the Warumbo site. For the viewing public and those in the audience, the Friends of Warumbo is under the umbrella of the nonprofit Positive Chain Lisbon, who will be managing the Warumbo Riverfront Event Center, known as REC. That's kind of the acronym that we've come up with. It is important to note that the Friends of Warumbo fully intend to operate this location by financial independence. The Surfing the Falls concert in September being the main fundraiser for this year, but we also have a rental fee structure in place for event planners per se. We do not plan the events. We organize, put them on the calendar, help advertise them, but we do not run them. So we're kind of an event planner, sort of, but without the nitty-gritty of what the events are. And we are, the money that we raise will go back into things like mowing, plowing, maintenance types of things, so that it becomes a net zero, using zero town resources or town money. We are a dedicated group that believe this is going to work, and it's in its infancy. So first year will have growing pains. We understand that, but we do think that through our communication of everyone's vast operational differences have plucked away a good structure for when a place or an event comes to the group to see if they can host an event. There are things in place such as if the expectation is X amount of people and additional security is needed, then they need to hire the police department on their dime, put in extra porta potties as a chart of attendance to porta potties, things like that, so that they are the ones that are paying for that, not the taxpayer. Some of the events that will be happening coming up in June 17th is the Blues Fest. That would be year 2 on that site. They went through their growing pains last year. In discussions, all of that has kind of been fished out as to what's going to go on and how that will be run this year. You have a carnival coming with the Moxie Committee on that site, so we're doing that in conjunction with the town. 3 Positive Change Lisbon concerts. There are many discussions regarding an organization that wants to start a weekly farmers market. So look forward to that. We're hoping that that comes to fruition this year. But if not, it'll be a good exercise for plans in the future. I referenced the Surfing the Falls concert, which is surf bands, coming September 2nd. And both of those concerts, the Surfing the Falls and the Maine Blues, all of those tickets can be bought in advance at a discount. So we encourage people to go on to the Facebook pages under WREC-Warumbo Riverfront Event Center or Friends of Warumbo. Either way can get you to the links of those concerts. Positive Change Lisbon plans on doing a Warumbo Fun Run 5K October 21st, so holding a community event. There have been other discussions regarding community events down there as well, so we look forward to plugging those in as we can and making that area useful and bringing people to the town. As we know, or as I can state for a fact, that the construction of the new gym brought in revenue sources to the grocery store, Dunkin' Donuts, the gas stations, the pizza shops, the sub shops. So having an event area brings in money to our town. One thing I really regret was I would have liked to met with the Dunkin' Donuts specifically, their management, to find out year prior to having the gymnasium and year after what their sales were, because I can guarantee, looking at the numerous amounts of Dunkin' Donut cups, they increased considerably. So I really wish that I probably should have done that, and that is one of my regrets as a school committee chair, of not asking local businesses, not to provide us details, but what their percentages were prior to construction and after construction. I really wish I would have done that. There is a public forum that we are asking the public and inviting you to May 23rd at 6:30 at the Warumbo site. There is a tent, so if it does rain, it still will go on. There'll be kind of surveys there to find out what other types of events people would like to see us, maybe ask about, or if somebody comes to us that we know that that's on a list of things that people want to see happen here in Lisbon. So we are, like I said, it's the first year. Anything, worth doing is worth taking a shot at and making sure that we know all the pitfalls moving forward to make this an absolute success. Any of the fundraising efforts, the plans would be to phase in different facilities on there, possibly a post and beam type of structure, permanent bathroom facilities in the long run, that type of thing. Anyone who knows me from the school committee, I'm all about the phases. If you have the plan, it's the roadmap, and things get done. Lisbon is not a town that, is willing to just go blindly into the night, and I respect that. And having a phased plan has worked for the school department, and I don't see why it wouldn't work for this organization as well. And I think that the potential for that piece of property is going to be something that I think everyone in town will be proud of once it's out of its infancy. Any questions, comments?
I have one.
Sure.
I have a lot of residents that come to me and ask me what's going on.
Mhm.
Doesn't look like there's anything going on this weekend. So I tell them about the sites. What else can we do to, as you say, the first year growing pains, their first year is impatience. Right? So it's it works both ways. So I mentioned before, getting some type of bulletin board down there. I know it's a pain to keep it updated. It doesn't do any good if we have one and we have old news, right? But maybe we can have something we can tell the residents, hey, look, if you want to know what's going on,
We are working on a website, which will have a full calendar once we've got substantial events. I think our dream goal is that there will be something going on there every Friday, Saturday, and Sunday.
Right.
That would be, I'm going to say, it would be nice to meet the mark prior to, but I'm going to say 5 years down the road. So we have these events right now to make sure that we are not biting off more than we can chew as a group as well, and be able to grow that in a smart way rather than throwing everything at it and failing miserably, because this town does not forgive.
No, absolutely. They
So,
don't.
I mean, I'm going to put it out there. It does not
That
forgive.
I know.
So, we want to make sure we are doing it correct. We are doing it with the community mindset and base going forward, and that we don't have to take major steps back because we didn't think of something or something came up that we weren't aware of. So we're really trying to do that. And I think as things like the Blues Fest, the surfing, Surfing the Falls, the 5K, I think once those things start, people will realize, hey, that's actually a great little spot to do this.
Right.
And this is a great little spot to do that.
Yeah.
So I think you're going to see those things grow. And that's kind of what this meeting on the 23rd of May is about too, is, is there something we're not thinking of? Is there something that a group would want to use it for? There is stipulations, there are insurances that people need to have in place. There are ordinances that they need to follow. There are certain things that need to be done. You just can't free willy just have whatever you want there. So we're trying to make sure that the town's covered as well.
Yeah, I understand. Like I said, it's just more, it's the Save the View residents are kind of patient, but the ones that weren't Save the View are kind of not.
I would encourage them to go on the Facebook. I sound like my husband. On the MySpace, and follow those pages because they are put out. I know Ross puts them out through the economic website. I have the Lisbon Pride page. Anything town related is on that page. People are sharing it more and more. The thing about information that I have learned, probably it's a hard lesson to learn too, because I just don't understand it. If there's something I want to know, I go to or try to go to or contact the people so I can get my information rather than just blindly saying I don't know.
Right.
So I have a hard time with that. If there's information you want to know, you can get it. You just need to look for it.
Right. And
people start to turn off if you put it out there too much too.
Right.
So it's a balance of information, and a bulletin board is a great idea, but one, you have weather issues that could probably damage it. Will people actually stop, park their car, and go look at it?
Right.
So I think moving forward, we're trying to explore all of those things, mostly being social media because that's how everything gets out and gets out quickly.
Yeah, I'm just echoing some of the things they mentioned, right?
Yep.
Just so they know that I'm at least.
Yeah, eventually the website will be like where we want to direct people for activities because that will have the full calendar on there, how to get a hold of people. I mean, the Facebook pages do. There's an email address. Anyone can email. We'll respond. You can send in a private message there. those types of things. But we're trying to get those things kind of bubbling up, the excitement. But again, that's what the meeting on the 23rd is for, is to get the public
I wrote it down. I'll be
info.
going.
What time's that meeting?
6:30.
6:30, okay.
Yeah, at the Rorumbo site.
That's all I have. Thank you.
Yeah, not a problem. Any other questions?
Tracy, first of all, congratulations on your Spirit of America Award.
Thank you
to
very much.
And Tony.
Thank you.
I was glad to attend that. It was great. I have a question about sponsorship. How does
Yep.
that work?
We are working on a sponsorship structure. Right now, we have some major sponsors that have come to us and said, we would like to sponsor this. So we put them under those umbrellas. We are going to look at, like, if my grandma wanted to sponsor, $10. We are looking at those types of structures too, that if people want to be a part of it, how can you be a part of it? And it doesn't have to take a lot of money. So we are looking at like a GoFundMe page to help fill those coffers, to kickstart those phases of construction, or maintenance, or those types of things to be used for those funds specifically.
I'm looking more towards sponsorship of events.
Okay.
Like I believe, is the Maine Blues Festival sponsored by 207 Edibles?
Maine's Blues Festival is their own organization, so the sponsorship for us would be like the Surfing the Falls, because that's kind of our fundraiser. Businesses could donate and you become larger sponsors or smaller sponsors. But Maine Blues Fest themselves are the event coordinators. We are not the coordinators for that.
Right.
So they contact their own sponsors that pay for that.
Okay. How do you vet those? For example, we're way off the wall, but what if the Nazi Party of Maine wanted to hold an event at Rumble? I mean, how do you vet that? What do you do if they say, we want to do this?
Well, we ultimately
do you meet
have
and say, nah,
we have a mission statement. If it's something that wouldn't gel with our mission statement, then we wouldn't allow that type of event. We, as a board, would discuss. There would be stipulations that they would, any organization has to fill out the forms, have the correct documentations. Like if they have food vendors, all those food vendors have to have a vehicular's license, and they have to have their health inspection. And so there are categories in which they all have to check the boxes. But for the most part, just like in schools, you can't have tobacco products advertised because it doesn't go with the school mission. We have our own mission statement about.
Okay. And where's that available to see?
That's right on the Facebook page. We have our mission statement right there.
Okay. Thank
Would
you.
you like me to read it to you? I can pull it up.
No. I've read plenty of mission statements.
Okay.
Well, thank you.
And obviously, any type of organization, we also, speak with the chief of police and the fire department, and go through safety issues.
I just wondered, once this gets going and it becomes a statewide place to go, you're going to get the crazies coming out saying, hey, I want to have this here, because it looks like a really good venue. So there needs to be make sure that we've got some control over what goes there and what doesn't.
I think, anyone that has mission statements, I think anything that doesn't align with your mission statement, you just don't do.
Yeah. Very good. Thank you.
Anyone else? Anything else?
I'll just say, didn't they start the trenching today for the lighting?
It did look like that. I saw a photo on Ross's page that what the town is doing for that area with the donated lights. Yep.
Thank you, Tracy.
Thank you, Tracy. This morning, Enterprise Electric, yesterday we went and moved a whole bunch of rocks to make room. Enterprise Electric put the pole bases in the ground today. Tomorrow we will do the trenching, and they will come back and lay the electrical wire. We hope to have it connected to the power source by the 14th of June, based on CMP's guidelines and timeline. So that's where we're at right now.
Great.
Thank you.
Progress. Thanks. Next item.
Next item is the remote meeting policy discussion.
My turn?
Don, is this your,
Yes.
it's your turn, Don.
I hope this doesn't turn out to be a big deal, but after the working rules were changed on March 21st, it put the remote meeting policy in somewhat of a conflict, if not an obvious one. For the average reader, it looks like it's in conflict. So I spoke with our attorney a month or so ago and discussed what I thought would make the remote meeting policy come more in line with what we have for working rules, not change the working rules as they have been amended. A couple of things that we discussed. One is it needs to be brought up to the current state statute. This current state statute is much briefer, doesn't require urgent or emergency situations to have that. So you can have a remote meeting just because you want to have a remote meeting or a partially remote meeting. As Kristen explained to me, right now we have a policy. That policy covers not only the town council, but it covers the other boards and committees that wish to have remote meetings, unless they have a remote meeting policy. There's only one, well, the school board, but the LDC has a remote meeting policy. In fact, it's been confused with the town one. But things like the planning board does not. So that planning board and some of our other committees would be governed by our remote meeting policy, which really is not set up to cover them. As I said, the current state statute's been revised, and it no longer says an emergency or urgent situation must exist. And we can eliminate a lot of the superficial language. Also, it needs to take in regard, if it's still a policy, what criteria for other planning board or other committee members might be. For example, in the town council, we say that you can attend twice remotely, and that's it, and not be counted in attendance if you are absent the third time, or not if you try to attend remotely the third time. We might not want to do that for the planning board or other committees, because they're not elected members, they're appointed members. And whether they meet by remote means or in-person means is a whole lot different than the town council. So that, and that's largely the reason I think it should be changed or amended. My recommendation is, as I had talked with Glenn, I had talked with her, was to ask staff and the attorney to revise that or consider revising it. Go into discussions. I'd like to be helpful because I wrote the other ones, but I don't want to govern how it's done. So that's my thought on it. I don't know if we need to vote on it or just say staff do it or what, but I think it needs to be brought up to date anyway.
Yeah, I mean, if somebody wants to draft something for us to look at, that'd be great.
So if you just want to direct staff to clean it up, and I can work with Don and the attorney and come back to council with the cleaned up version?
Yes.
Okay.
You'd be good.
Thank you.
Right.
Next item.
Next item is council committee reports.
School committee,
Nothing to report.
planning board.
Planning board, yes. Planning board. On the last planning board meeting, they did approve Dantos drywall at the old Getty station up here. And there was a lot of discussion by our planner about design standards and that sort of thing. So they're going to come up with, they're sensitive to it. They want to make it look like it's a nice place. The other one, the Rumbo Phase 1 project was approved by the planning board. And an interesting discussion happened afterwards. The ROS 1, ROS 2 zoning ordinances were discussed at length, and some interesting prospects for changing them to come in line with what the state wants to accomplish and what we would like to accomplish. It's still in the working phases, but the planning board is giving some direction to her to pursue that, and I think it'll come along well.
Thanks. Lisbon Development Committee?
I have nothing to report. I don't know if anyone else has anything to report
Ross
on
could
that.
probably give a summary of it.
Yeah.
Good.
The committee continues to await a response from the lawyers regarding the teeth in our abandoned buildings and unoccupied properties ordinances, and we're working on both the Warumbo parking lot plan and investigating the possibility of working on a project out on Pinewoods Road.
When was your last meeting?
Last Wednesday, and our next meeting is June 14th.
Second Wednesday.
Yes, sir.
You want to make sure you're there for that, Mark?
Yes, I should be able to be there.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Conservation Commission met last week while we were meeting at council, so I didn't go, obviously. And I didn't get a report on what came out of that. Parks and Recreation?
I was able to attend the last meeting. Interesting discussion. A lot of summer programs are getting in line and everything's coming together, it seems. Still looking for people to fill in some blanks as far as on some of the counselors and stuff, but sounds like they're making good progress. There was a large discussion about the idea of just the MTM building as a whole, which I think the council will at some point in time hear a little more about. One good thing about Mark's program, before and after school programs, summer programs are growing. So, I mean, there's a lot of, financially now from where it was years ago, I mean, there's just a large amount of money that actually is brought in through that program. And as our community grows and as childcare gets more difficult, I think it's only going to grow and expand. I think it's a great service for the community. With that being said, he's kind of outgrowing the areas where he's working in right now, and due to the how would I say it, the uncertainty of the world, I think we have to look at it and make that a nice, safe environment for the kids. And right now, it's actually, I think there's some work to be done. We took a little tour of the building, and unfortunately, even though the rec department's growing, so when other places growing, meaning that Laco and is actually kind of outgrowing their space down there. And at some point in time, I think there has to be an honest discussion about how that building's used and maybe looked at the functions of it and what the primary functions are and how we actually go about that and make the building more user-friendly for the programs that we're running. So I guess in due time, I think the council will get more information on that, and it may be the idea of just kind of relooking on what's in that building and what we have space for and what our long-term goals are. And one thing we know, we're not going to get any smaller as a community, so as we grow, we're going to make sure we have room for it. But besides that, I think everything's moving forward, and I think people are looking at all avenues of their recreation for the summer, and I think they're going to put out a good service for the community.
Thank you. County Budget Committee. County's charging us way too much money. Library Governing Board.
As we're all probably aware, our long-term librarian is retiring very soon, and she is making every effort to make sure that we have a plan to move forward and continue to accomplish what she's been accomplishing over the 36 years that she's been at the library.
We look forward to having a party.
Oh, yes, we do look forward to having a party.
Water Commission.
The water department is flushing right now, as probably everybody has seen and knows. But what you haven't seen is that they're beginning the corrosion control process, which everybody in town has been complaining about for years. It starts with chlorination first, and chlorination has been going on in the Moody well for quite some time, but not in the others. And so that's being added to those, and then the polyortho, whatever it's called, will be added, which is the actual corrosion control. So they know there's going to be growing pains with it. They know they're going to hear about it because the first thing that's going to be detected is the chlorine in the water for those that haven't had it. So that's what's going on.
Thank you. Finance Committee.
As Kevin said, we met just recently. It was a good meeting. Kevin did what he asked. Good job. Thank you. The committee asked them to speak for them. One thing the Finance Committee is struggling for members, though. I believe we need 2 again.
I think we have 1 vacancy, and the recent appointee has yet to attend a Finance Committee meeting. So
Right.
I need to look at the absentee policy, and you may need to make 2 appointments. But
Yeah, that's,
if
we did
anyone's
talk that,
interested out
right?
there,
So,
we do have 2 vacancies.
yeah. So I think it is an important committee. I'm not sure what we can do to get the word out to the public that we're looking for a couple members that understand it does take dedication and time and willing to get on the committee. Because right now that committee is basically in dire need for people.
I guess the folks watching at home too, it's an ad hoc committee, so it doesn't meet regularly. So if time commitment is an issue, it meets by charter for the budget recommendation, for the budget workshops, and when there's special projects that the Finance Committee is tasked with. So if you're worried about it being every month kind of thing, it is not. So
Right. Good point. Thank you.
Thank you. Town Manager's report.
Sure, I just got a couple things. I just wanted to give an update for the council and the public about the Borough Road Bridge. Obviously, that sustained damage in that big storm that we had. Saw a news article today that Maine did hit the threshold for a FEMA disaster declaration, so we're just waiting to find out if our submission will be reimbursable. Structural engineer went out, looked at the bridge. It is rated for 22,000 pounds, so oil, school buses, fire trucks can still use it. It was reduced to 1 lane. Design work for the replacement of that bridge has started, so we are looking to hopefully bid it out in February of next year and do construction in July of 24. There's a lot of moving pieces leading up to that, so we'll come back to the council in the summer when we identify a funding source. FEMA can be 75-25 up to 100% reimbursement. And then we are also in the running for the CDS spending, which we won't find out until the end of the year. And that's an 80-20 with a potential for 100%. So there may be a portion that we need to match, but there may be a portion where it's fully covered. So stay tuned on that. I met with our engineer to discuss some sightline issues. I had some resident complaints over on Maple and Summer. We walked it. That's where that weird island is with the telephone pole. She made some observations and is going to send me some recommendations for signage to make the turn safer. The road is also unposted, so we'll be putting a mobile speed cart there to remind drivers to slow down as they come off Summer Street and get that road posted. Boy Scout Troop 109 cleaned up our streets, stenciled 60 catch basins, and distributed 75 door hangers to spread awareness about storm pollution. Thank you to Troop 109 for their efforts in keeping our water clean and educating residents about stormwater pollution. We had 2 full-time collections clerks start Monday in the tax office. We're hiring a patrol officer. We are also hiring a library patron services assistant. Our cataloger was promoted to cataloger? Right. And summer day camp positions are open. I'm also going to be rejecting the loan bid for the Warumbo site. We only got 1 bidder and the price was rather high. We've got a lot of time between now and when that project starts, so I'd like to rebid the loan part of that project. And also, if Ross is still here, I want to pick on him if he has anything to add. But the Blues Festival would like to push the stage onto the sidewalk between Franks and River Drive or Cannabis. They'll be putting barricades behind the stage in the street and creating safe passage around the back of the stage. The pedestrian path won't extend into the path of traffic. It doesn't require a road closure, so I don't need council authorization to close the road or anything. And the police chief is in support of this arrangement and said that it's safe, but I just wanted to give you a heads up that that stage would be extending onto the sidewalk a little bit over there. Anything to add, or that? Yeah. All right. That would be everything I've got.
Thank you. Next item.
Next item, we have no appointments, so the next item is councilor communications.
Any communications from council members? Mark?
I just have a question for the town manager. What's the situation with the town audit I know we're way behind
Um,
schedule for the audit.
So our finance director is feverishly hounding RHR Smith. We were told the audit would be finalized at the end of last week. I was out Friday and Monday, so I did not check in with her an update on that. But I do know we needed to update our engagement letter with RHR Smith to resolve some variances from the June of 22 reconciliations. So that's partly why it's taking a little bit longer. And with the departure of the finance director, who typically did those reconciliations, I needed to kind of engage with their auditing services people to get those done and finalize the audit.
Thank you.
What year are we with the contract with the auditors?
I don't know the answer to that question, but the last conversation I had with the previous finance director is that we will be posting to go to RFP for that in the coming year.
Any other council communications? Next item.
Next item is audience participation and response for new items. At this time, those in the audience who wish to speak may approach the lectern to address items or issues that are not on the agenda. Please speak clearly into the microphone and state your name for the record.
Norm.
Good evening. Norm Albert, 76 Summer Street, Lisbon Falls. Just a couple of things that I wanted to touch on. One was something about the remote policy is one of the things that got me here tonight. But mine was not directly about the remote policy. I was glad to see that there was some policy creation around what was going on here. Whether or not I agree with it or not is not what I'm here to talk about. What I wanted to say is I would hope to see you all extend that into the committee attendance policy, meaning that counselors that are assigned to committees have an attendance policy around that to ensure that they're there and that the information is making its way back to council, because that's what the idea behind the liaison is for, right? So I think it's an important piece that I hope to see, and I wanted to bring it. I felt it was important to bring it forward and ask you all to find a way to integrate that into your works as well. That way we can have some seriousness placed around that. It's important. The other piece of that I was hoping to talk about a little bit was I heard something mentioned earlier on about trenching for lights down at the Warumbo site, and tune, I think it was $16,000. Correct me if I'm wrong on that number. Where did that money come from?
That was a council order last year from the ECD TIF prior to this whole thing.
Okay, so the idea was to put lights on the site, and that was passed prior to this year, at the end of last year, 22?
I don't remember the exact date.
I'm not going to hold you to that, Glenn.
But yeah, it was
September 22.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was for safety lighting and to run electric to the site.
So that's something that we committed to long before any other committed plans were in place.
Correct.
I think it was important just for transparency to kind of put that out there, because as Tracy was talking about earlier, information that goes out into the ethos sometimes doesn't end up coming out in the way that it was intended, which is factual. And so I think that if we make it nice, plain, and clear as to when that was passed and what the was for, then there's no confusion around it and everybody's on the same page. So that's good stuff. I think that's all I had. I'll just say thanks for you taking the time to measure the information regarding Lisbon EMS. I think that was something that I know I'll sleep better tonight because of that. So thanks for your time. Appreciate it.
Norm, I had a question.
By the way.
About the committees. Are you talking about the council liaison or just committee members themselves?
Council liaison.
The council
So,
liaison?
yeah,
Okay.
if that makes sense.
Sure.
Okay, perfect.
Thank you.
Thank you.
If there's nothing else, then I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
This is.
Oh, there is something else.
No, this is Order 2023-100.
Oh.
Like kidding.
Motion to adjourn?
Is there a motion?
Yes, I make that motion.
Is there a second, Mark?
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Order passed 7-0.
Ray wants to stay.
But he wants to say.
Did you say no?
I didn't say no. I was
That's
messing
my
around.
Oh,
line.
we're still on. Behave yourself.
Kristen gave me the waiver that the.
Okay, yeah, that's what she was. The only thing she was worried about.
I update maintain it.
Well, I agree. I don't know where we are. Where are we on that?
Oh. I forgot to do that.